So now you can hear me. Couldn't hear me before, thank goodness. I'll sing that song next time. Sing that song when I start working on some sail power models. Okay. Don't know why Twitch is acting weird on the back end tonight here. Wow. Slow, slow. Slow as molasses. Looks like it's froze up. Huh. It's very strange. It says I've got excellent, excellent. Okay. Looks like everything's working now. That was very strange. Come cheer up, my lads, 'tis to glory we steer. Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to the Pocket Dimension. Tonight's project is a continuation. We're going to finish up this industrial frame here, this crane. So available from seadoggamestudios.com. This is a fairly scale agnostic sort of a piece of terrain. It works well with 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter, 6 millimeter. So you could use it with our line of 10 millimeter mechs here. You could also use it with man, all my Battletech stuff is kind of stashed away right now. But let's see. Let's see here. Battletech stuff. Dig it out. I've been breaking things out and putting them in my display cabinet. Oh yeah, let's see. No, you know what? It's just I got too much stuff buried over top of it. That's just a mess. I've got a bunch of loose boxes on top of, or loose, not loose figures, but clamshell packages, and they're kind of stacked a little wonky. So I really don't want to have to take those all out to get the Battletech stuff out. But this will work even at 6 millimeter scale. It's pretty big. 10 millimeter scale, it's pretty big. You could probably even use it for your 28 millimeter scale stuff, right? So maybe it's just a small derrick, maybe just kind of a little industrial derrick they can work with. Somebody at work, maybe it's remote control or something. So it actually works pretty well. If you were to put it in a Necromunda or other urban, science fiction urban terrain game, it would probably work pretty well. It's got some good levels. Your guy could climb the sides there, use the platform, this could be a little bit of cover. You could even work in a movement rule for this, maybe change it 1/4 turn per turn or something. So lots of different things, lots of ideas there. So let's get stuck in and get this finished painting. What do you say? So hope everybody is doing well out there this evening. It's a beautiful weather here. It's a beautiful weather here. I don't know how I said but it's beautiful weather here. I was going to mow the lawn this afternoon after I got home from work, but it was too hot and I was too tired. So much for that, right? So So I said, forget that. I'll get it Saturday afternoon. Now, why am I not doing it tomorrow night? Well, tomorrow night I'm waiting on a. I'll have a phone call with Raul Partha about a couple of things going on. So that will be nice to talk to Jacob again. Haven't talked to him for a while. A couple of emails or a couple of text messages back and forth, but just get to touch base with him. I think he's interested in working with my paint and take stuff. So see where that's going to go. I kind of know how he wants to do that. So that will be interesting to get that hashed out. So that'll be a nice little discussion tomorrow evening. Because I'm not doing any conventions in April and May by any means. There is a small convention over in Charleston, West Virginia this weekend, but I'm not going to be able to attend. It's just you gotta break away and do some things. Sometimes you just gotta take the time that you need to do the things you gotta do. And I got plenty of things I gotta do. So work on some things for Sea Dog Game Studios. Finish up a couple of things for Raul Partha. Be nice if this paint weren't reactivating and putting red into the white here. But it does seem to be lifting up some of the pink here, or some of the red, and getting a little bit pink. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to dump this water into my travel cup. What I mean is this is the cup that I take with me when I go to paint other places. So I wouldn't drink out of it. It's resin and stainless steel. So I don't know that it'd be. It actually had a label on it, not for actual use, right? But who knows what that means. I got it at a truck stop, actually. So, resin, I don't know that I would particularly trust that resin. I don't know where it's from. I wouldn't want to put my mouth on it, So, you've got that to contend with that sort of thing, But that's what I take. That's what I take with me. I've got the Monument Hobbies Go Bag, the older one. The newer one's nice, but they still only hold the same amount of paints. If it had double, I kind of wish it had double the capacity, as well as a figure well, but they don't have that. At least not this time. But it would be nice to have a figure well in there. I mean, it's got pluck foam, so you can make one, but then you sacrifice your capacity to carry your paints a little bit by plucking out the foam. So I'd rather have. I want it all. I want something a little bit bigger, a little bit more meatier. That way I could have even have those paints just in there instead of transferring paints back and forth from the desk to the bag. Have a travel set up. Now this is where, hey, the Pethis. Nice to see you. Sure. Yeah, well, I understand. That's true. It would. Kind of like just keeping them all disorganized in a big old box. Like Jay had that video on from Eons of Battle. Jay had a video on just leaving your paints in a big old box and just rummaging through them. Hey, bearded plastic, how's it going? And just rummaging through them, and how the act of rummaging through them kind of keeps your paints, especially ones you might not use often, will keep them kind of mixed up. But as you can see, I'm not a fan of just keeping them in. I want to be able to see them, see the colors I want, and find them easily. So, yeah, well, the Monument Hobbies one, the new edition of their Go Bag is really nice, quite honestly. Um, but I'd like to have one that has probably a third more slots for paints, and then a figure well for carrying your project with you. But that's just me. I'm hard to please when it comes to products like that. I'm very hard to please because I'm very specific. It's why I haven't ever really invested in Battle Foam, because Battle Foam always wants you to use their die cut trays, and I detest die cut trays because then I have to figure out everything that I have, and then if I want to expand, yeah, that is a problem. Struggle narrowing down what paints to bring. A lot of that I can't would depend on the model you're working on. So if I'm working on a model and I want to take it with me, it might just be something easy. Maybe I just need 3 or 4 paints to work on it, especially if I'm not going to be gone too long. But if you're going to something like, say, a speed painting contest, um, which I was at a speed painting contest this past December, and basically I took as many paints as I could. I just started grabbing paints and chucking them in the go bag because I didn't know what the figure was that we were going to paint. I didn't know anything about it. It was going to be a surprise once you got there. Everybody was getting the same figure, and it was pretty neat. It was a cool, really, really cool event. But at the same time, something like that, you don't have any way to make a plan for the colors that you're going to take, and then so there's a that's kind of the limitation to an event like that. But I totally feel you on not knowing what paints to bring. Um, Now, if it was something like if I were working on, say, my Iron Warriors, I know that's going to be steel and gunmetal and Nuln Oil and maybe some yellow and maybe some black, maybe even some gold or brass colors. So, absolutely, if you don't know what you're going to run into or what colors you're going to paint, or if you want to just take, maybe you are going to a convention and there's a company there that you really want to buy their stuff from. So you're going to take paints that you can, and you go and you buy it, and you want to build that model, build and paint it while you're there at the convention if you have any downtime, which I've never found any of this downtime that they talk about at a convention because I'm always doing something. I run a lot of games for Sea Dog Game Studios at most of the conventions that I attend, or I'm running a paint and take, so I don't really have time to do any of that kind of thing. But I always think it's funny when I see people painting. Now at Adepticon, I probably would stop into Fort Wapple and paint, maybe throw a few licks on the charity model that You Got Me monologuing um, brings along. Also, I'm going to give, since I mentioned him, I'm going to give You Got Me monologuing a shout out at You Got, is it YG, You Got Me monologuing. think that's it. Yeah, so if you haven't followed Tony over at You Got Me Monologuing, go ahead and do that. But at Adepticon each year, he has a charity figure that you can sit down and you can paint as much on it or as little. You pick a spot on the model that you want to paint on, and you do your thing, and the next painter does their thing. You can sit and paint. I mean, if it takes you an hour to do the left bicep, we sit and do the left bicep for an hour or whatever. But by the end of the convention, that model gets painted by all these great painters, you or me or Vince Venturella or Adam Loper or somebody like that. So whoever wants to sit and paint on that figure, they're usually more than welcome to do so. I know Painterly Git, who shows up here sometimes. He's got a channel of his own, but he painted on it some. I think Myar as Enable. I think he painted on it. Um, let's see, PSK Games or Models. I'm not sure which that is, but he painted on it. So you could actually watch. Tony was actually broadcasting that paint session throughout the convention, and so it was kind of neat seeing all these different people sit down and paint this model. But here's the other thing: if you do go to Adepticon and you want to paint a model, and you go to Fort Wapple, all the paints that you use there, they're free to use. So you don't have to take your own paints to Adepticon unless you really want to. Unless you've got a specific project that you need to have done a specific way. If you just want to grab a model, if you make a purchase there and you just decide, you know what, I can't wait until I get home to paint this, and you got some downtime, a couple hours to kill, you can go to Fort Wapple there at Adepticon, and you can sit and you can paint your model, and you can use all the paints free of charge. And I think Reaper sent a rack, and let's see, Cuttlefish I think had a rack, and I know Pro Acryl had a rack. Monument Hobbies, man, Monument Hobbies stuff is right in the middle of what you need. It's not too thick and it's not too thin. It is it's like painting with butter, only it's not butter, it's paint. And when I say butter, I don't mean like thick like butter. I mean it's smooth and it's creamy, filled with chocolate and nougat. No, that's a Snickers bar. Never mind. Um, but yeah, their stuff is really cool. In fact, Brian at Sea Dog Game Studios sent me a picture today. He's got the perfect recipe for for ship decks. So we'll be working with that eventually. Never used their paints, just the washes and transparent paints. Good, cool. In sunk cost with scale 75. Well, as you can see, I'm in sunk cost with Reaper, Vallejo, uh, Army Painter, which is pretty much all I can get around here. But I don't need to. I don't need to. Oh, and I've got a whole drawer full of coat d'arms. So I've got. I also run with coat d'arms. But just because I have all these paints doesn't mean that I can't pick up another line or another few colors that I like from another company. And I've found that what is up with this red transferring into the white? That's craziness. But I know what you're saying, Pethis. Um, I know exactly what you mean. So let's see. Let's get some gray here. But there's nothing that says you can't pick up a few bottles here and there for what you need. You don't have to switch over to everything all at once. But I'll tell you what, um, one of the best colors that Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl has is their white. Now, this is pure white from Reaper, and I really like it. But I've also used Monument Hobbies white, and it is quite good. Well, yeah, understandable. Feel like your wife is gonna stop believing you one day after you. Well, just tell her that there's a whole lot of trucks out there, and they all just strangely enough happen to be carrying hobby products. The problem is though is when she asks what how much it costs and you give her the cost minus about 25% of what you've actually bought it for, and then you die or in the hospital or something, and she sells all your stuff at the price that you told her that it was. That's that's a real problem. That's where the problem lies. So I'm going over this section with sky gray. So I'm going for a very light gray to keep that red from interacting with the white. So it is. It is always so strange, isn't it? I mean, I hear that happens all the time with, sporting goods guys as well, Hard to believe that there's so many trucks that are just opening up on the highway and all this wonderful stuff that just happens to be things that you can use just kind of spill out. It's amazing how that happens. Um, but thanks for joining us here in the pocket dimension tonight, Pethis. Appreciate you being here. As you can probably tell, I am not the world's greatest painter by any means, but I enjoy painting, and if someone's just starting out or has questions about it in general, I am here to help. I'll tell you what I know, and if I don't know something, I'll make it up. So, what have you been working on lately, Pethis? You got any projects going along? Long-term projects, short-term projects, anything on the desk tonight? Any games planned for this weekend? Oh, okay. Cool. Well, they are a wonderful judge of character. So, good for you for listening to them. If you don't mind, if you haven't already given a follow, go ahead and do that because I'm trying to get to 200 followers by the end of April. If we can hit 200 followers by the end of April, in May I want to do a charity stream. And it's going to be something dealing with like strays and no kill shelters and that kind of thing. So, are you on my Discord yet, by any chance? Because I've got a Discord going on where you can share your products, your projects. Yeah, okay, cool. Right, shoot. Right now, gluing together a bunch of paper European buildings and terrain for 15 millimeter flames of war. Nice, very cool. Well, hey, I'd like to see those, and so let me put you into my Discord. I'll send you the. Here is the link. So there you go. There's the Discord, and you can put it in the Hobby Hounds Work in Progress or Hobby Hounds Complete. If you don't want to show your work in progress, you won't. If you want to show the complete, pretty simple. If you're on Discord anyway, you kind of know how that goes. But I'd like to keep. I like to see what people are working on, and I can't always follow everybody Instagram gets a little bit muddly sometimes, puts out everything from everybody all at once, you know. But Discord, I can see just who I am familiar with. And you never know, you might see some good stuff there yourself. But I got some paper terrain as well at, at Historicon because I too enjoy Flames of War. I have I have Northern Africa British, so there is a gentleman that manufactures paper terrain. I think it's just called paper terrain. And so I bought a bunch of northern Sahara desert type buildings from him for my North Africa campaign setting. So, 8th Army, you know, Matilda's early war stuff, Matilda's and Valentine's. Cool. Nice. And he had a deal there at Historicon. So I took advantage of buying, I think it was buy two get one free or something like that. So I picked up some houses and buildings for All Quiet on the Martian Front as well, because I still have that. European theater, because I have the late war Americans and Germans right now. Very cool. I actually have um, now I play bolt action with my Germans, but I play bolt action in 1/72nd scale because it's cheaper and I can find more. I can I can find more variety rather than waiting around for wizards, warlords, or Rubicon, or Army Group B, or somebody to make a kit that I can already get in 1/72nd scale. So the only thing I'm missing right now that I want to get is I'd like to get a couple of Stuka as anti-tanks, because my main bolt action opponent plays Russians, and so I'd like to have some Stuka to go after his tanks. And I do get very anachronistic because I will throw a Jagdpanzer into Kursk when we play bolt action. You know, bolt action, or as we like to call it, Hollywood World War II. But I also run British paratroopers, so Market Garden type era. So I've got, but my late war British, the paratroopers and the like, are, most of that comes from the Plastic Soldier Company. Because I was at Hard Knocks games down by Fort Knox, and there was this box of paratroopers, British paratroopers, and I one of my favorite movies of all time is Bridge Too Far. So I saw that and I was like, hey, I could do a Market Garden scenario. So I was like, oh, I'll just have to get those. So now I have two boxes, two companies of British paratroopers to do up. Plus, I've got the American tanks, well, Lend-Lease tanks, really, for the garden side of things. going to get into bolt action, but my friend and I were both more interested in vehicle combat over infantry combat, so we went Flames of War. Cool. Plus, the price can't beat it. Yeah, yeah, you do get more for your money. And here's the other thing. This is what a lot of people don't realize. Your game doesn't have to be static, okay? And what I mean by that is, um, just because you're using a particular set of miniatures from a particular company, you don't have to feel tied down to that particular game. There is a way you can actually play bolt action with your 15mm stuff. Somebody made a post about it years ago on the miniatures page, but I'd say with just a little bit of ingenuity, you can probably figure a way to just keep track of your casualties on the multi-base there. You know, 2 bases would be your squad, maybe. 2 bases plus a command base. So, so you could actually play bolt action with your Flames of War collection if you so desired. Believe it or not. I was talking about something like that with my friends. The last 2 have terrain boards, and when you're in the fields and the farms, you play Flames of War. But as you enter the village or town, it transitions to bolt action. Sure, you could do that. And the thing is you don't really even have to buy a whole new collection, quite honestly. You could, in fact, here's what I would recommend. Probably the most important thing is to just change your measurements, but you wouldn't even have to change the number values, right? So you're playing Flames of War, and you're using their numbers in their book. Great, fine, you know their rule system, no problem. It works out. They've got their game kind of dialed in as to how far things shoot, how far things move at the scale that you're using. But you're changing over to bolt action to play in a city fight, urban terrain sort of a situation. So what happens is instead of going with inches, just change all the inches to centimeters. And I don't mean making an exact, like a conversion, like you're not going to try to do math, right? So you're not looking to change your inches to 2.5-inch centimeters and do the math. Just change your inches to centimeters, use the same value, the number value, so 24 inches becomes 24 centimeters, etc., so on. So you could do that, or you could just use the bolt action rules and keep the same distances and movement values from Flames of War. So there's lots of things, lots of ways you can do it, and see, all that is part of game design. Once you start tweaking your rule sets to get where you want them to play, the way you want them to play, you have engaged in game design, and you have changed the game. You have changed it to something that you wanted to play the way you want to play, instead of being told how to play by somebody else. Now, that can be a strike against you if you are huge in tournament scene. Go messing around with rules that you need to have pretty well in mind. But for garage gaming, basement gaming, games at home, or in your club, if you've got a club that meets at a store or something, you can always fiddle around and adjust the rules that you're playing with as you need, as you want. And that's the other thing that's great about historical figures, is that you can get a lot of use out of your collection. You know, it's not like something that has to be so specific, like say 40K, right? 40K, you need, if you want to do Space Marines, you're going to need Space Marines. or or a reasonable facsimile there is. A wargaming anarchist. Sure, why not? I mean, the figures don't care what rules you use, you know. I mean, and if you design a quick set of rules, and your rules are no more than everything hits on a 4+ on a 6-sided die, and everything moves at 6 inches, and you just want to play with that for an evening just to get somebody. If you have somebody that is interested in learning how to play a game, maybe don't give them a specific game. Just kind of come up with something that's easy, a rule of thumb. This is how this works. This is how this works all evening. Let's play it. And then once you get those brain juices flowing, right? Get those synapses and neurons to connect as to understanding how things work on a tabletop in general. Then you can introduce them to maybe Warhammer or War Machine or Flames of War, war, lots of war, or Bolt Action, Force on Force. Um, if you if you are of the mind, I recommend. Yeah, that is actually the perk of historics. Things make sense. Yeah, and you can use your collection over and over again in many different rule sets. You don't have to. You don't. About the only thing that really is concerning in historicals sometimes is the basing convention. Right, a pistol doesn't do as much damage as a tank round. Right, and you can't take down a tank by shooting at it with small arms either. But how much damage does a Bolt pistol do compared to a plasma rifle? Well, I'll tell you. Um, Now I haven't really played much 40K since sixth edition, beginning of seventh maybe. So I kind of sat out eighth and ninth edition. Bolt pistols were the same strength as a bolt gun, which kind of makes sense. They're firing the same round. The range was shorter, but it was a strength 4 weapon, right? And since we're using D6s in Warhammer 40K, so a bolt gun did had a strength of 4. Plasma gun had a strength of 7, armor piercing 2. So 7 and 4, that's 3 apart. So it does 3 damage more, right? Well, if you're using the D6 math, each step is 17.3 repeating apart from each other. So on a D6, each face is 17.3% difference. So I don't know how the strength of that weapon relates to that, but I think I was trying too much math. But anyway, but then they did make an option where you could reduce the plasma gun down to a strength 5 weapon, armor piercing 3, I think, or armor piercing 4. Strength 5, armor piercing 4. So, and then it wouldn't deal with gets hot. But I mean, plasma is hot and it burns through things, whereas a bolt round is a solid exploding projectile. I mean, does the fluff have to reflect the rules? Oftentimes in 40K, the fluff doesn't reflect the rules. Historical games are a little bit more fiddly. I hate to use the word rivet counters or button counters or lace commissars, right? Lace Nazis. Because there's people that will absolutely nitpick. That's the wrong hat for. Okay, so Napoleonics, right? They are right there. Um, the British had 2 different hats during the Napoleonic Wars, right? They had the stovepipe shako, which was round and flat on top, and then at Waterloo they had the Belgic shako, which was kind of mitered off at the back, and then it just had kind of a stand-up section in the front. Well, woe betide any man or any woman or any, I should say, let's be more inclusive, any player that should play in a pre 1809, say you're playing a game that is on the peninsula, right? So Spanish Peninsula, 1805 up to 1805, 1806. Woe betide any player that has their figures modeled with the Belgic Shako and they're playing it in a peninsular game. I think there's some people that take things a little too seriously. Just play with the figures you have. I have 28 millimeter British, and if I were going to play in an official bolt action game, and I wanted to play a North Africa scenario, all my British guys are in their wool outfit, are in the this color outfit here. Let's see, where is it? It is, yeah. So all my guys are painted up in this, right? English uniform. That's that brownish, that kind of brown drab, greenish brown kind of color. Well, there would be some Norman that would come along and go, your British are painted the wrong color for playing on this board. Why? You're playing on a. Or if I wanted to host a game, I wanted to just let people play with my stuff, do a participation game. And that's all I had was the British that I have. And I wanted to do British versus Italian in North Africa. There'd be some Norman that would come along and be like, they're in the wrong color out uniform. And it's like, well, I don't really care because I just play with the toys that I have. Don't get, unless you're specifically modeling something for that. If you want to do something, if you want to play a particular game, and you don't and you're like me, you're kind of gamers. We're cheap, right? We like to get good deals, but we also don't mind spending if we have to. But if we don't have to spend, we might not spend. So, I say play with the toys that you have. Don't worry about what other people are gonna say. Your Ultramarines are painted the wrong color blue. Well, or here's the great one. Why are you using Blood Angel tactics when your army is clearly not painted like Blood Angels? Because I paint my own figures, my own color chapter, right? They're my okay. 40K nerd time. My Space Marines are in black armor because they're ex-space pirates that were pardoned by the Emperor back whenever. And so they wear black because they're a spaceship faring. They don't have a planet. They live on a almost like a world ship. Generations of them live on this ship, and they draw from the population, the pirate population on the ship to build their marine forces. So I call them the Void Reavers, right? Because they live in the void, they live in space, and they're pirates, so reavers, right? So Void Reavers. So my Space Marines are my own custom chapter. I don't have to worry about using the Ultramarines Codex. I don't have to worry about using the Blood Angels Codex. I don't have to worry about using the Dark Angels Codex or the Space Wolves Codex. You know what? I can use any codex I want. And even if you were playing, say if you had Ultramarines or Blood Angels or whatever, and you wanted to use the Space Wolves Codex because you wanted to model a particular play style with it, there's nothing that can stop you from doing that. Just ignore the Normans that come along and say, you're doing it wrong. And I mean, there is no way to objectively say that you're having fun the wrong way. Are you having fun playing with your toys, playing with the person across from you, playing the game? Yes or no? Don't have to worry about what third parties' opinions matter, because they don't. Everybody has an opinion They're all like breath. Everybody's got a everybody's got a breath, and everybody's opinion stinks. Point of playing is to have fun. Hate it when people play lore or realism or whatever over fun. Sure, sure. And there's going to be things that happen in a game because of the way dice work and some of the weird interactions that sometimes rules will have, where things that could never happen do happen. Um, but the historical rules are a little more finicky in that way, where you're not going to have you're not going to be able to take down a tank with concentrated Lee Enfield fire. You know, you might be able to take down a thin-skinned truck with Lee Enfield fire, but you're not going to be able to wipe out a tank with it. But evidently, in the last edition of 40K, with concentrated bolter fire, you could pretty well take down tanks. So, but I don't know. That was just a rumor I heard. Maybe it's just a dirty rumor. Like I said, I have sat out for a couple of editions just because it wasn't a thing. So why can't two American armies go against each other on the table? They absolutely can. You call it a training exercise. Or, hey, here's another thing. There was a situation during the Battle of the Bulge. The Germans had actually developed a fifth column unit that they dressed up in American uniforms with American equipment. They dressed up Panzer threes, I think it was, in to make them look like M10 tank destroyers. So you can absolutely have two American armies going against each other on the tabletop. And it's historically accurate because it actually happened. Now, they're not all Americans, but, you know, one side is the German infiltrators, but it actually happened. So there's no reason that you can't have that. But it absolutely happened in real life. So if you got some Norman, some teenage kid that thinks he knows everything, comes along and says, what is that? You have two American armies playing against each other. Has anyone seen my inhaler? Uh, just tell him, hey kid, did you ever read about the Battle of the Bulge? What am I painting? I am painting a what we call an industrial frame, and this is for Sea Dog Game Studios. So this is a crane, right? Or it's sort of like a crane. So this is it. So this is 3D printed by Brian Carnes, designed and printed, and it is a crane. It is terrain for. You could use this terrain in any game, really, because again, terrain is much like figures. It doesn't really know what you're using it for. You could use it in everything from Necromunda to BattleTech, but specifically, we're going to be using it on our game demo tables at Origins and Historicon. Well, I don't know if we're going to have any games at Historicon, but I think we will. I'm not going to Historicon, but Origins and Gen Con will be doing demo games, and you'll be able to see this in the booth. This is a booth model. So it's just kind of a crane, a model crane. It's nothing exciting. Let me get you my Instagram real quick. Do I have socials? Nope, that's not a command. I thought I had. I thought I had that. Let's see. What in the world is that? Twitch, you crazy. What is going on? try that. Nope. All right. Well, you can actually look at the Discord, and you can go up to my complete section, and you can see what I'm working on. But here is the Instagram picture. If you want to pull this up real quick. That is what I'm painting. So that's the yellow one. So I'm doing one up in the red because I have a red Industrial Frame Zero painted up already. So I'm making sets basically. So if you look at that, series of photos there at the Instagram, you'll see what I'm talking about, because there'll be a yellow one of these and a yellow industrial frame with some plasma glow sticking out from it, and then yeah. So that's what I'm working on. Thought the red and white are pretty sharp together. So that's what I'm working on tonight. Try to get this stuff done. Then I've got some stuff for Ralpartha Legacy to do. I've got some knights to do for them. Arthurians. So I've got 6 more to go on that project. I've got 6 of them done already and 6 more to go, so they're a dozen. So then the owner-operator of Ralpartha Legacy called me, texted me today and wants to see about talking to me about adding to my paint and take stuff, because I do paint and takes at local conventions, which the reason I do paint and takes it for the local conventions is because I don't have a whole lot painted up for the games that I want to run demos for, because for whatever reason basically overwhelmed. When I lived in a different place, I was a little overwhelmed and never could quite bring myself to get the painting projects done. I have this thing, right, where in my head, you buy something, it's in the box. A lot of guys will open it right there at the store and start working on it, but I'm the kind of guy, I gotta take it home, and then I can't work on it until I have all my chores done. And of course, chores never get done. Or they do get done, and then you're so tired that you don't want to do anything else afterwards. So things have been not that great for me over the years for getting a lot of things painted. But now I have my own house. I've got a dedicated hobby space. Though I do need to do some straightening up. It's getting a little scrungy. So it's just a lot better now, and I'm a lot more productive hobby-wise than I ever was before renting any places. Now, the last place I rented, what I rented was mine. I could use however I wanted, but the place that I lived before that, I rented from relatives, and they were a little bit picky on how I lived my life in their place, even though they weren't there. And of course, that was a whole mess. That added to a lot of frustration and depression to me, because it was like there was lots of space, but I wasn't allowed to use the space. I was like, come on. whatever. One of my friends that had done some landlording before looked at my agreement from my family, and he just laughed. He said, "This is ridiculous." But I needed a place to live because the place that I did live before that was being sold. So I moved out of there. Of course, that was right around the same time that there was a whole lot of bad things happening at that time. It was right around 2005, 2006, 7, and 8, when there were a lot of economic problems coming up. So there wasn't a lot of work, not a lot of companies to work for, at least not where I lived at the time. So that was pretty awful. Yeah, no painting funks are the worst. Getting out of them can be tough. You bet. You bet. Well, I'll tell you what's helped me, quite honestly, Pethis, is setting up this Twitch channel. I could have been doing this actually at the last place I had. I mean, I had a desk, I had a computer, but I was of the mind that I wanted to make production videos for hobby stuff. But after taking the raw footage, because I've got raw footage still in the can, I need to edit it. I decided, yeah, I'm in a good space and a good spot, good headspace, good spot to do things. Um, and I probably could have been doing things. I didn't even know about streaming or Twitch at the time. I guess I did sort of know about Twitch a little bit, but all I ever heard about was just, the bad side of things, people being, shall we say, spicy content on Twitch, right? So I didn't feel like I wanted to be really associated with that. But then I started thinking about it, started looking at it, and I got a friend that was doing streaming on D Live. So I went over to D Live. I thought, well, maybe I'll check out D Live, and D Live is almost actually worse for stuff. And I figure as long as I'm not doing that sort of thing and staying away from that, that's, doing my thing. It's just like TV. Basically, there's good things on TV and bad things on TV. So you don't have to watch the bad things. You might have a channel. You might have a weekly public access talk show, where you interview people in the people in your neighborhood. Oh, these are the people in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood. In your neighborhood. Oh, these are the people in your neighborhood. The people that you meet when you're walking down the street, the people that you meet each day. And the fact that you're on TV doesn't mean that you're broadcasting things that are inappropriate for kids to see or make old ladies blush or whatever. So I figure it's like having a TV show on TV. This is what I'm here for. And I have nothing to do with all that other content. So, and I don't have to sit here. I don't have to edit. Editing was the thing. Editing makes me break out in cold sweats. And here's why. When I was a kid, I would make skateboarding videos, right? So me and my skate crew, we'd go out and we'd video stuff. And I had two VCRs. Actually, Actually, I would play it from the camera to the VCR, and so I would use the VCR to get my master tape made, right? And so I would get all the master tape made with the video, and I would play that back to a fresh tape on the video camera, and use the video camera to record the master tape, and I would feed the music into the mix. I would mix the music in at that point. So that was easy because I could go through, I could queue up, I could find what the section I wanted, and edit that way. But editing on a computer makes me break out a little bit in cold sweats because it doesn't feel visceral. I don't have that same. I don't have that same. I don't feel like I have that same control over it, right? And the other thing is too is saving your work. To me, see, I have a real. Again, it comes from family stuff, right? So, my brother borrowed a computer of mine, and I told him I didn't want him to do anything to the hard drive, and I didn't want him to load it up with a bunch of junk. Well, what do you know? He loads it up. Finally, and he gets ready to move, and he's like, "Here's your computer back. I didn't get to do blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And so I went to use it, and I couldn't do anything because he double booted it with Linux, and I expressly told him, "Do not alter my computer in any way. You can use it for surfing the web, you can use it to play games, but I don't want you to do anything else with it." So I got it back, and I couldn't use it because he had double booted it with Linux and used up all that hard drive space. So the things I needed to use it for, which were going to be photo editing, playing games, surfing the web, I couldn't do anything. It would crash. It crashed out all the time. So, yeah, I think I was able to finally get. I think I could get. I got Warhammer Dark. Let's see, 40K. Whatever the 40K game was from 2003, I think it was, right? 2003 or 2005. Whatever it was, the one with the blood ravens, right? So the first 40K video game, the RTS one, I was able to get that to work, but like I would get so far along and I would know that it was about to die. So I have this real, I guess, psychosis around using up hard drive space, even though I have, 500 gigs here on this computer. That's standard nowadays. I mean, if you get anything with less than a terabyte, you're getting ripped off. And I could go down here to Walmart and get an external terabyte for, $80. So, I mean, I can have all the storage space that I want. It's just getting over that idea of files being generated and taking up space and just all the weird things that shouldn't happen. It's like I just want to do this one thing, and working on the video stuff, it's all in the computer already. I got all the footage there. I do need to tape the voiceover and a little bit of narration and a little A and B roll, a little bit of B roll. But so it is a little bit confusing for me when I can't. I mean, I understand the functions in the editors. Same way I have all the STL files on an external that is only for those. Yeah, right, exactly. Because even though it makes no sense, it feels safer. Yeah, it sure does. Absolutely. And that's where I'm at. You're in my wheelhouse right there, if you know what I mean. Because I think you're right there. You're kind of picking up what I'm putting down. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I am with that. So, all right, I'm gonna do this little knob right here at the top. Right there. I'm gonna paint that. I'm gonna paint it blue like it's glass or some kind of receiver or something. Because in my mind's eye, these are automated as opposed to manned, or maybe they're run from remote control. And so maybe this is like a receiver. So I'm going to paint it kind of glass, like glass. But I've got a lot of footage to edit, and I do need to do some B-roll and write my script actually. But it is actually a Team Yankee how to play Team Yankee on the cheap. And the reason I want to do that video is because the guys at my club decided to start playing Team Yankee, which I didn't know was a thing at the time. Of course, this is a while back, so everything's old. It shows you how long I've been working on this video, or how long ago I took the footage. So the guys at my club started playing Team Yankee when it first came out, because they tend to be chasers like that. Hey, here's a cool new game. Yeah, let's play it. And we'll do that for 3 months, and then on to the next thing. Because that never happens, right? So I was like, well, yeah, I want to play with you guys today, but I don't have any Team Yankee units. So while I was waiting for them to show up, I went from the hobby store, or the game store that we used to meet at, which is still there, and we'd probably still meet there, but the Great Plague kind of interrupted everything, so I don't know, so a lot of the guys just started meeting up at one of the other dudes' barn, and I don't know if they even hardly ever go to those stores anymore. I know I do, because I don't have a barn to meet up in, kind of a clubhouse area. But I didn't have anything to play with, so I went over to Hobby Lobby, which was only 2 miles away from the game store, and I picked up they are a little dusty right now. I picked up 4 Harriers, right? So I got 4 Harriers. Jump jets. So I got those, and I used this as my unit in Team Yankee. So I kept my guys in reserve. I made my reserve rolls and started bringing these guys in. But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. This is why I say Team Yankee on the cheap, right? So Team Yankee on the cheap to me is, you find these models, these scale models. That's a 1/100. Those are 1/100 scale models, which is pretty well equivalent to 15 millimeters in the Flames of War Team Yankee scale. Those were each $11 and change a piece. Of course, Hobby Lobby, if you go in with a coupon, there's always coupons you can get. For about $45, I got 4 of those. $45, and if it's a sale, we'll get you 2 of the resin ones from Battlefront. So twice as much. So basically, 50% twice as much for half the price. So, and that's not a knock against Battlefront. I've interacted with those guys at various conventions. I like them. They've got a good product. They always have they actually have a lot of really cool sales at the conventions. In fact, that's where I got a lot of desert terrain from for my North Africa stuff, and I kind of went a little hog wild buying it, the buildings and such. And the gentleman who was sort of one of their high mucky muck managers, sales guys, right? He's like, hey, since you're buying all that, do you want this over here? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm spending a lot more than I really thought I was going to spend here, but this is stuff I really want, and it's my only chance to get it. He's like, no, no. What I mean is, do you want this over here? I will give it to you for free. So, Battlefront guys, solid dudes, high praise from me, and that's something because I'm really, you know, I'm very loyal to my own brand, which is Sea Dog Game Studios and Raul Partha Legacy. Those are my friends in the in in the industry right now. They're the people I'm most associated with. Um, so for me to give another company that kind of that kind of praise is a high praise because I'm a little bit of a curmudgeon sometimes, and I am unfortunately opinionated too sometimes, which has gotten me into some arguments. Probably lost me some things as well, but I'm trying. I really do try. It's probably lost me some consideration from companies and individuals I could otherwise work with. But I do have to. Yeah, money is expensive, and you want to spend it at a good company. But yeah, no, I've never had any bad experiences with the Battlefront Gale Force 9 people. It was actually at Origins when Battlefront was starting to do game mats. It was a double-sided mat for basically the same price that you would get a single-sided mat from another company. So you got desert on one side and grass on the other, 4x6, and so the owner of the company was there at Origins, and I was looking at the battle mats, and he's saying, "You like these battle mats?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, you're basically getting two battle mats for the price of one because I think they were 50 or between 50 and $60, which was actually a little bit less because most companies at the time were selling for $75, I think. But it was double sided, so I'm like, you're get. I say, you're yeah, yeah, Reaper. Well, Reaper years and years ago when they were doing metals, they learned a lesson, and they learned where their first of all they learned how much of a margin they could make, and secondly they learned that if they sold more for less, they would make more and have better. They'd have better. They would get a lot of goodwill from their customers, right? And especially with Bones, I mean, the Bones Kickstarters are a steal. Which I like to use the Bones for doing paint and takes. You know, I've bought up, I've bought up collections, other people's collections of Bones that they weren't going to do at times, so just to do paint and takes. But yeah, and Reaper's paints are good. I mean, there's a lot of good things with Reaper. All right, I'm just going to go with that. Otherwise, it's going to look like I'm doing blue and white stripes. 4-year-old has painted a lot of the Reaper stuff. Absolutely. Good stuff for a 4-year-old to work with, you know. Just give just give them some craft paints, a couple of cheap minis, and just let them get used to painting, just slinging paint, you know. Eventually the skills will come later, right? But that's nice. Um, but no, they learned a long time ago that they could still make a decent margin if they sold more for less, and they learned a big lesson when they did make a rather significant price increase back in the early 2000s. That they were like, "Oh, yeah, you guys didn't like that, because they actually noticed how their sales really went down because they're like, oh, GW is selling these figures. They're using the same amount of material, the same kind of material, you know, white metal, tin, antimony, um, called pewter for lack of a better term, we'll call it pewter. Um, so they decided, well, maybe we can get more out of our customers. Well, people saw that price rise, and people stopped buying, and it was enough to where they noticed that their sales in units dropped significantly. Then they went back closer to the original price, and sales started picking up again. You know, so yeah, they try to be responsible. You know, and a lot of that was Ed's doing. Unfortunately, Ed is no longer on this side of the dirt. So we'll see where that company goes now that, you know, more different people are in. But I think he probably trained his replacements pretty well. You know, of course that's why you have a corporation like that, so that if something does happen to somebody, is that um, it will continue on and make money for the people you leave behind, you know. I think I'm going to do the spine on this derrick right here. I think I'm going to do that. And then after that, I think I'm going to start weathering this. Yeah, it was. It was really, really a tough time. It was just right at the wrong moment, you know. Especially since everybody was starting to be able to go back to conventions and the like. So moving the facilities, starting 2 new sculpting and manufacturing processes. Yeah, yeah, with the CO cast, and now with the 3D printing. Um, Kickstarter 5 fulfillment and Kickstarter 6 starting. Yep. Now I think the Kickstarter 6 isn't that just for bases? Isn't that just another base boss? If I understand, if I'm understanding correctly. I mean, who doesn't need more bases, right? That's the one thing, is always need bases. It's all about that base. Oh, yeah, Base Boss 2.0. When does Bone 6 start? I haven't really kept up with it. I was just at the Reaper website the other day, yesterday. Yesterday, I think. They did also do a Bone 6. Well, was it a Bone 6 or was it like more like a 5.5? I think there's some controversy there. I'll go with whatever you say, because I don't really know right offhand. I kind of stopped keeping up with them because I've got enough to paint already, and I don't really need to buy any more. And I've got Dragons Don't Share, and I've got Maldrakar, so I don't know that I. And I've got enough of a backlog of their stuff right now that I don't know that there's anything that I really do need. Although that new bugbear that they've got, the 3D printed bugbear, um, I would love to get that because I have got most of their bugbears. I believe those are I think those are Trey Manor sculpted bugbears because they have his style, that kind of cartoony, big, overblown, overly large style. Okay. Oh, okay. There was a Bone 6 then. Okay. Tales from the Green Griffin. I'll have to look that up. Thank you for that. Is that going on right now, or is that. Let me take a look at that, because if that's going on right now. Oh, let me take a look. Let us open this link in a new tab. Yes, a new tab. A tab here that shall explain the mysteries of the world. Oh, the campaign did close, but the pledge manager is open still. Okay. Huh. Okay, maybe I did know about this. Man, they went far. They went real far. Oh, they didn't get to the storm giant though. Wow. Huh. Oh, they're doing a Dragoth the Despoiler or the Defiler. Wow. Some of the updates of their old figures, I'm not. They seem a little cartoony, you know. There's a few things that there's a few things I recognize as updates. Oh, Town Guard looks nice. But there's a lot of originals here too. The familiar pack, very cool. Werebear. Werebear. Where? Bear? Oh, here, bear. Where bear? Here, bear. Oh, very cool. Yeah, I'm kind of. I've done a few Kickstarters or supported several Kickstarters. I guess my thing is I don't like waiting. You know, there's so many things that can happen between the time that you pay and the time that the fulfillment happens. And I got burnt a little bit. I got a little bit toasted by All Quiet on the Martian Front. That one kind of screwed. Well, it screwed up a lot of people, and I didn't even have that much in the way of things to come yet. I was missing a few outstanding items that I knew that they had manufactured, but I didn't get them in my first package. And I was like, well, maybe they're coming in the next one. But other people got them and I didn't. So, but All Quiet on the Martian Front was just an absolute mess. The way it was, I think, I don't know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I know about it, and I don't want to get into it. But it was an absolute lots of problems with that, you know. Suffice it to say, there were a lot of people that didn't get the things they wanted, that they'd ordered, and they will never get them because All Quiet on the Martian Front keeps. It's kind of like Warzone, you know, or Mutant Chronicles, right? Mutant Chronicles has gone through at least 4 hands, and now it's coming back with Warzone Infinite, I think it's called, or something. I don't know. Whatever it is. But how many times can you try to resurrect a game system that goes away or that was well received but badly managed? And then every time it's been tried to be brought back, it has just been poisoning its own well, you know? How many times can you do that before people just start ignoring it? But Miniature Market bought a lot of the stock that hadn't sold, a lot of the assets because it went into receivership, and then they didn't know what to do with it. So now somebody out in I want to say Washington State, some ex-Marine, maybe still active duty. I don't know how you can be active duty and try to start a gaming business, but whatever, you know. But he's trying to bring that back. All quiet on the Martian front, but we haven't heard. We heard the initial chatter that he was going to do it, but we haven't seen any products from him. No Kickstarter or nothing. Have one of those must have, yeah. He definitely ain't no 03311, right? If he's got time to run a game store, game company, and he might be out by now. I think he was getting close to retirement. So, me, no, 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 no. Knew a lot of people that were though. Picked up some of the lingo enough to understand what's going on. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's about the only one I. That's the only one I know what it is. I know a few more. I know a few more of the army job codes, but and even like in the three series, there's different threes, and so you know 314s, 3XX is the idea. Grenadier, heavy weapon specialists, whatever you got there. So no, I just pay attention when people talk. You know. I find that when you are able to use some of their lingo, you get a little more respect. You're not just another civilian. Actually, act like you have some empathy for them and what they've been through. So, but I did my volunteerism. I worked in an outfit that had a lot of similarities to the military, actually, except for the guns and the killing part, you know. But I'm not going to get into that here. Let's see. I'm going to take a little bio break right now, if it's okay, for a couple of minutes. I'm going to get something to drink. And I'll be right back. All right, Pumpkin. Out you go, old boy. You think you're gonna be good? You say you promise you're gonna be good. You're gonna lay there. Is that what you say? All right. Well, we'll see how long that lasts. All right, here we go, and we are back. Not to mention the front and side to side. We're back. Pumpkin, what you doing, buddy? Are you just bored now? You want to go out? You want to leave my... would you like to leave? Oh, watch out. You're getting tangled up in the cords there, pal. Huh? What? You want to go out? Out. Out, out, out. Okay. Time for you to leave the pocket dimension, old boy. I can't be supervising you. All right. That is the cat. I would like to have him in here. It'd be nice, but cats like to jump up on things and knock things off, and there are too many things here that don't need to be knocked off onto the floor. And he likes to knock things off. All right. Let's see. Get that up and running. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much too. I mean, there is an option if you look at the warp tokens, the quantum tokens there. There is an option where I will bring him on camera. It's called release, or it's called summon the beast, where I'll bring him in and we'll pet him for a little bit. But yeah, our dog, she liked to get in, she liked to get into the crunchies as well. So we actually had to put the litter box in a closet and put a cat door on the closet so that the dog couldn't get in and eat the crunchies out of the sparkle treats out of the litter box there. So, but that was when I lived at my folks' place. We had a good dog. She was a dog that had cats, and the cats had the dog, you know. But I don't live a lifestyle that really is conducive to having a dog. But a cat, you know, you can go away for a few days and the cat's fine. I couldn't do it if I had a dog. My work has at times over the last few years decided that it's a good idea to take on a last minute projects out of town. And that really got to me last year. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I told them no more. So we got some other guys to do that now. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. Hope I never do. You know, of course, famous last words, right? For some reason, this red has been reactivating underneath this white. So I don't know what has been going on here. But yeah, dogs for some reason like to eat cat poop. Don't know why that is. They also like to eat cat food. It's like supposedly, from what I understand, cat food is sweet to dogs. It has a sweet component and they just love it. Problem is, cat food has no nutritional value for dogs. So a dog would actually starve to death if you fed it cat food instead of dog food. But they do be liking the cat poop. Of course, they eat their own poop and vomit at times. So dogs are dogs, and dogs do what dogs will do. Wow, really, really, Nightbot? You will allow a double snakes, but you won't allow you won't allow the word "she's a monster." Wow, I'll tell you what. That's Nightbot's crazy. Doesn't make a lot of sense. The words that are on the naughty list. She's a monster. Yeah, yeah. Less that you have to take care of. Understand that. Well, that's kind of a dog's stock in trade, though, is eating up the barf, right? That's just what dogs do. Barf and floor food. Yeah. Our dog, she was actually pretty good about. Well, she was good about not begging at the table. We got her trained to where if she didn't beg at the table, if she would wait calmly. She would lay down, but she wouldn't beg or put her nose up in your business when you're eating. We got her trained so that if she was good, if she didn't do dog things at the table, bother pester people, she would get a piece of chicken at the end of the meal. And she loved chicken. But floor food, I mean, if it's on the floor, she's going to snarfle it. And I mean, there was just nothing you could do about it. But I had, I was watching my folks' place. They were off on vacation. So I was staying there. And I commenced to fix myself a pizza. Just a frozen pizza, personal size pizza, just big enough to fit on a regular dinner plate. So I did that, and I'm sitting down, sitting on the couch in the living room. I'm just sitting down, and the telephone rings. So I put my pizza down on the end table, and I go and I answer the phone. It was a wrong number, and just a few seconds, I mean, it wasn't even a minute that I was up away from the couch and to the phone. Enough time to say, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. No, you got the wrong number." Yeah, okay. You have a good day too. Click. Walk back from the kitchen out into the living room. And the dog is on the floor, licking her chops, and my pizza is gone. Completely gone. She knocked that pizza off in less than a minute. And the thing is I was not mad. It was funny. I was a little bit miffed. I was like, how in the world? I wasn't angry. But I tell you what, it's a good thing she was so cute. Because if she hadn't been, we probably wouldn't have had a dog. I wasn't. It was just. I was between angry, miffed, impressed, and I mean, it struck my funny bone so bad. It was. I was amused, angry, miffed, all those feelings all at once. But she was usually so good and usually had no interest in pizza anyway. And she was always well fed. I mean, it wasn't like she was hungry. There was always food in her dish. But that one time, she really got it. She just the temptation was just too much for her. Leela used to be great. You could leave a plate of food on the coffee table. Yeah, see, so same thing here. And she wouldn't touch it. Then we had our two little ones, and now she's just ruined. Eats food if you aren't looking. Steals food from toddlers' handles. Counter surfs. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Dogs do like to take advantage of the wee ones being wee. They figure you're paying attention to the kids and not the dog, so the dog can now start getting away with things. Animals are smarter than we give them credit for. Sometimes I think they have an emotional intelligence too that humans don't have. Sometimes it seems like they have some self awareness too, but I don't know. I know Pumpkin sometimes, when I kick him out of the pocket dimension, he'll go, he'll sit outside and protest outside the door and go, meow, 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 meow. Like, hey, what are you doing? I'm the cat. You need to have me in there with you. The neighbor's car alarm is going off. Biggest problem with my cat is he does like to get up on the counter. I've got it to where all I got to do is tell him to get down, and he does get down, but he still does it. I put some, I read somewhere years ago that if you put tinfoil on a surface that you don't want the cat to get on, when the cat gets on that surface and hears the tinfoil crinkling, it will it will spook them, and they'll get away from it post haste. Well, I just put my kitchen table together here a few weeks ago, and of course, Pumpkin decides he's got to jump up there all the time. So I put some tinfoil out on top of the table. Doesn't phase him a bit. Not a bit. Doesn't stop him. He hops up there and he does his thing. He's like, I'm the cat. I'm gonna be up here on the highest point I can find in the house. I did kick him out of the bedroom so that he can stop chewing my hat collection. I didn't want him to get into my nice tri-corner with the ostrich plumes and I really didn't want him to start eating my fez. I got a fez back at the 50 at Gen Con 50. I got the special edition fez from Fezorama. Which is pretty nice. Get a lot of compliments on it. It is my official gaming hat. So I go to a convention. I wear my Fezorama Dragon Fez with the D20 on it. Which the D20 actually is based on the one that they found in Rome. So instead of numbers on it, it's got the alphabet. So it's like epsilon and gamma. Omicron. Maybe it's Greek. I guess it's Greek. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, your cats are heat-seeking missiles for whatever they shouldn't be on. Absolutely. Well, that's cats for you. You know, oh, I'm not supposed to be on here. Okay, and they even look at you while they do it. They like look at you and go, "Oh, what you gonna do about it, huh? What you gonna do about it?" It's like, well, I can't put you outside because I live in the city and I really don't want you to get run over by a car. He's a country cat, so he's used to wide open spaces. I think he would get lost though. I don't want to lose him, so I'm not going to put him outside. Though I think that would probably get some of his play out of him if I did that. But I don't trust the drivers around this neighborhood. I was getting out of my truck yesterday afternoon after work, after I got home, and this guy's just barreling down the street. Now, mind you, this is a neighborhood that was built between the 1920s and the 1950s. So it has a very narrow street. And so you park on each side. Now, my work van is parked on the street, but my car is parked in my driveway. I can't maneuver the two around. I don't have enough space to be able to take them both off the street. So, but I was getting out, and this guy just comes flying up over the rise. I mean, it's supposed to be a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit through here. That guy was doing at least 40. Yeah, yeah. I don't trust the drivers or the dog owners around here. Sure, absolutely. And even though cats can be annoying little, whats, life is better with them. I'm glad I got Pumpkin. He also seems to be a fairly good deterrent for the rodents. I did have when I was working on the road, I was away for quite a while, and I came home and there was a rat that had taken up residence in my house here, and it had eaten a hole in the corner of the kitchen. Like chewed through the floor, through part of the wall, and through the floorboards because for whatever reason it couldn't get out some other way. I mean, it came in obviously, and I don't know if it chewed its way up and in, or was trapped inside and wanted to. I mean, I don't know, but either way, that was unfortunate. I did not like. I was because I came back one weekend and I was sitting here painting, and I looked over here and there was a rat in my doorway, looking right at me. Like I looked at him, he looked at me, and he just kept looking like, "Yeah, this is my house." I'm like, "Dude, it's not your house." If I had a pellet, if I had had a pellet gun, I probably could have tagged him, but well, whatever. And I put out traps. And he sprung every trap, and didn't hurt him. He was like Superman rat. So when the opportunity came to get this cat, he had already proven himself to be a rodent killing monster at the farm that he lived on. So when my friends told me, "Hey, we got this cat. You want it? He's kind of stray, but he kills mice like it's going out of style." He like he kills a whole bunch of mice and moles and leaves them out stacked up for us to find. I mean, and that's the thing is, like a psychopath, right? Cats are psychopaths. They will kill stuff and then they will leave it out. He left it in this perfectly straight line. Mouse, 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 mouse on this rock by their front door. So I'm like, yeah, I need a killer here. So within that first week of him coming home, he had killed a pretty good size. It was either a juvenile rat or a really big mouse. that he killed, and I haven't seen any kind of sign of I haven't seen any rodent sign around since I've had him. So either they've got the idea that they don't need to come around here, or he killed the only ones that were here. So, but some days he just is absolutely infuriating, and he does like to bite and scratch when he plays, but never enough to really hurt you. But this weekend, or this week, Tuesday night, Tuesday night we were playing, and he got me in my mouth with his claw inside because I picked him up. He was where he wasn't supposed to be, and I picked him up, and he was wrestling me around, and he got me right here in her lip, and I started bleeding, and I'm like, "Cat, you just scratched me in my mouth. Thanks a lot." So I'm going through the house. I'm like, I need something. So I go to my first aid kit. Yeah, yeah. It didn't really hurt that much, but it was. I mean, it bled pretty good. So I got the first aid kit. I open it up. I'm looking. I'm like, okay, gauze. I can use gauze to staunch the bleeding because I wanted to bleed so that it would get any germs or bacteria out. So I wanted to bleed, but I also wanted to stop bleeding eventually. So I bled it out as good as I could, and I cleaned up with the gauze, and I sucked on the gauze to help stop the bleeding eventually. But I'm like, I need something to disinfect this. Well, everything in the first aid kit says not for internal use, do not ingest, right? You know, the antibacterial cream and all that sort of thing. Alcohol wipes. The only alcohol that I had in the medicine cabinet is isopropyl alcohol, so you don't want to ingest that. You don't want to put it in your mouth. Then I remembered, and this is what makes me mad. Then I remembered I have a bottle of Evan Williams bourbon that is, I mean, I'm thinking I've got that bottle of bourbon. So I stashed it away because it's a special bottle. It was a very special bottle of bourbon. It was from their select stock, hand numbered bottle, right? Hand number on the stock, hand number on the bottle. It was bottled in 2009. So I bought it. I bought it at the liquor store in 2009, and it was bottled then, which means it had been in casks for 4 years before that. So 4 years before that would have been 2005. Yeah, yeah, you're feeling me. This is where the story is going. So I'm like, well, I got to, and I was like, I've been saving this for a special occasion. Well, I guess I'm just gonna have to make medicinal use of it. So it was kind of a funny joke inside, you know. I'm thinking, this is just like back in the old days. Hey, I've got some whiskey for medicinal purposes only. so, so I kind of took a little swig of it and swished it around and let it trickle down, you know, over the wound here, and took another swig and put the cap back on the bottle. But the thing that really made me mad was I've been saving it for something special. And see, I've been watching. I don't know if you watch Adam Loper, Uncle Adam, at all. He's got his videos on Friday. He does every other Sunday.